Welcome to the Friday edition of the Three-Man Weave Show, hosted by SportsbookReview.com. We are the Three-Man Weave, Ky, Jim, and Matt. Jim's got a basketball. Matt's congratulating himself. We are stoked for a Friday slate. Please like and subscribe to the channel, SBR Sports Picks. They do wonderful stuff, tons of YouTube videos about all kinds of sports. Get better at gambling with SBR is a slogan they should maybe use in the future. Go to sbrpicks.com/NCAAB for more college basketball content, including our videos and some awesome write-ups by the team at SBR. Takeaways, fellows, from a Thursday. That was good to our best bets. Way to go, best bets. Congratulate ourselves a little bit there. Jim, how about you? Out in Vegas, Thursday thoughts.
Ky, on that note, on best bets, I have backed myself into a corner where I changed the karma by wearing a collared shirt yesterday and my best bet one. So now I'm stuck wearing one until.
Wow, I didn't even notice that.
So hopefully I'm wearing collared shirts for the next 14 shows. That would be.
I didn't know we officially had upped our dress code to business semi-casual. I guess I'll have to adjust.
I'm just superstitious, Matt. My other takeaway though was Utah State was incredible last night. Completely shut down San Diego State. Craig Smith has done an outstanding job reshaping that team from last year's kind of offensive leaning juggernaut to this year. They're a top 7 KenPom defense now. Just shut down the Aztecs. Got to keep an eye on that one for Saturday, or whenever they play next Saturday. Yeah, because Matt Mitchell might have gotten hurt for the Aztecs. So keep an eye on that one. But tip of the cap to Craig Smith. Maddie, what'd you see last night?
Yeah, I love Craig Smith. He's right up there among my favorite coaches. Good to see him get the job done for us and the chat mob and all the folks who tune in. Ky, you mentioned strong best bet performance. The undercard not as strong. A big reason why Wagner did not get the job done. A big reason why one of their best players, Elijah Ford, did not play. A surprise late scratch. Just a broader theme here. When you're betting the extra boards, and these are kind of the perils of betting the extra board, the low majors that are poorly covered, you got to be careful. The roster is sort of a box of chocolates, who's playing, who's not. So I think going forward, we will try and tread lightly. At least I will try and tread lightly with adding the extra games. We will also try and do better about tweeting out any of these late injuries that we find. It wasn't known until the game started. So I guess this is a part apology, a part warning / lesson for the future that when you dive into the deep, dark cave of the extra board, just know that the sharks are there in terms of omissions that come out of nowhere. So frustrating, but move on.
Including the LIU Sharks, Matt, who were not kind to Wagner last night. Guys, my takeaway, shout out to one of the worst beats of the year. I'm talking about Montana minus 12. I said on the show yesterday, I almost took Montana as my best bet. Thank goodness I stayed away. Guys, the Grizz were up 17-0 to start the game against Northern Arizona. They were up 22 at half. They were up 27 with 13 to go, and they were up 15 with 1:29. They lost by 11 to not cover the spread. Point shaving questions abound. Yes, Montana didn't score, I think, for 9 minutes. That's concerning. Northern Arizona missing one of its best players. That was a truly
two of their best players.
Game. Two of the best players. Wow. Hey, It's part of the game. Jim, by the way, I love the superstition with the collar shirt. Bettors are anything if they aren't superstitious. I messed up that phrase, but you guys understand the meaning of it. We're going to start the slate today with Wisconsin at Rutgers, a Big Ten showdown, best game of the day by far on this Friday slate. Wisconsin's up to -3, guys, at the rack. They're coming off a game in which they got blown out at Michigan. Scary thoughts now traveling to the rack. But Matt, Rutgers just hasn't been good lately. 3 straight losses, including 2 at the rack. The Ohio State game in particular was truly disheartening. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I'm not as worried about Rutgers. I feel like the narrative is that they're broken. They were a house of cards, and now it's starting to come to fruition. I just don't see it. They lost at home to 2, or they lost at home by 2 to Iowa. I mean, Iowa's a phenomenal basketball team. We've seen how good they've been. I give them a pass for the Michigan State effort. While that was, borderline abysmal, the free throw woes were well documented. Michigan State was due for a good game after they'd had 5 bad ones in a row, and Ohio State just shot the lights out. And Rutgers still made a late push to get back in that game. I think Rutgers is fine, and I'm sure, as Jim will tell us here shortly, the rack has been a house of horrors for the Badgers.
That's right. Wisconsin's lost 3 straight at the rack. I mean, obviously no fans probably changes that and makes this a little bit of a different dynamic, but even the 2015 team that finished number 2 in KenPom, had the best offense in the history of KenPom, lost to number 198 Rutgers that year. Now, granted, Kaminsky didn't play, but it's just not a place that I want to cheer for Wisconsin. So I lean Rutgers. My number leans Rutgers. I'm just not going to take it with the free throw shooting concerns. I don't want to be furious at Rutgers being like 11 for 20 from the free throw line and losing by 5 at the end. Yep. So I'm going to stay away. I do lean Rutgers if I had to take anything here. The under also kind of scares me just because of Rutgers defense hasn't been that good lately either. So yeah, I have strong leans towards Wisconsin or towards Rutgers in the under, but I'm just going to stay away and watch this one. Ky, what you got?
Yeah, Jim, real quick, 58% this year, Rutgers shooting as a team from the charity stripe. That only 7 teams are worse in college basketball. So,
Jim, the Rutgers Wisconsin stat about Kaminsky's team, Rutgers beating them right there is a summary of how the RAC is just dominating Wisconsin. They lost like 15 straight games after that game. It was their last win of the year. Guys, yeah, Rutgers, certainly a feisty team. They defend well. I'm worried about Wisconsin being able to do the same thing Ohio State did, which was take Ron Harper completely out of the game. Wisconsin's a top 10 defense. I'm sure they'll have a good game plan for this. Neither team, though, has a clear advantage over the other. Aside from that, it's going to come down to Rutgers' physicality versus Wisconsin's offensive execution, that swing offense that Jim grew up playing in. 3 points, though, is enough for me to dabble the Knights a little bit at home. So I do lean their way. I'm hoping that we don't see another Rutgers letdown here. God knows they need a win.
Wait, so Ky, was that a dabble as in a play or just a strong lean?
Let's make it a play, Jim.
Rutgers there he is. There he is. Yeah, I was kind of on the fence too, but I'll stay on the other side with Jim. So I'll cower in the field position.
Rutgers +3. Ooh, I like it even better because Mr. Playtime said Wisconsin will roll. Here we go. Rundown. Moving on.
Rivalry.
I'm gonna start documenting chat mob versus weeb takes. This will be a good little segment here.
Okay, Marshall at Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, guys, -3.5, -4, I believe now. So the spreads come up slightly. 2 best teams by far in Conference USA this year. Marshall hasn't played in 13 days, and both of these teams just split with Louisiana Tech. Jim, Western Kentucky, maybe the most frustrating team to bet on as a favorite. They play beneath their talent level constantly, and Marshall, quite the opposite with Dan D'Antoni and in his squad. He gets the most out of his talent. What do you think about this one?
I was reading up on Marshall yesterday. They're coming out of a little COVID shutdown. They haven't played in 2 weeks. And D'Antoni is terrified of Charles Bassey, and he should be. They don't really have the bodies to guard him. They're going to have to double a lot, send a bunch of different defenses towards WKU. The question is, are the Hilltoppers good enough and well coached enough to take advantage of that, to swing the ball around, find the open shots? Are they motivated enough to do that? I'm not really sure. I'm not sold on WKU as a favorite. I actually lean towards Marshall at the current number, but I'm not taking it because they're shut down and the matchup scares me enough that, and also this is a rivalry, so perhaps Western Kentucky is motivated enough to actually take this seriously, unlike the Louisiana Tech and Charlotte game. So talent leans towards WKU, matchup probably too, but coaching towards Marshall. So what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, Western Kentucky is still really good. They just have a lot of these frustrating games, as Ky mentioned, where they're large favorites. They get up early, or they kind of just take 10 minutes of the game off, and they're off in Neverland. Marshall won both games, Western Kentucky swept this series last year, so I think that plays in Marshall's motivational favor, probably amplified by the rivalry dynamic. It should be a fun chess match, X and O wise, schematically. How do they scheme against Bassey on that end, but then also how does Bassey step away and guard on the perimeter? Bassey's mobile. I don't think he's like some plotting, clog-footed big guy. He can step out and defend some of these versatile wings and forwards for Marshall. I think Western Kentucky is the right side. I would lock it in at 3, but I see it painted at 3.5 most places, so I'll probably stay away, especially after I learned my lesson last night with Santa Clara, staying away after the half point of bad value there.
Yeah, pretty much up to 4 everywhere too now.
Oh, okay.
I lean Marshall there, but I'm not going to take it. I want to take it against you boys.
Yeah, I lean towards Western Kentucky. The spread's a little too high for me currently. I just don't think Marshall has an answer for Bassey, and I like to think Western Kentucky is very much up for this game. Marshall is very much a threat to their Conference USA dominance. They're number 1 in KenPom right now in Conference USA. Hopefully Western Kentucky's paying attention to that sort of narrative, gets a little angry, outclasses them here. I agree with my guy, Mr. Playtime. I'm bringing him back. Western Kentucky Marshall over is definitely somewhere I lean in this game as well. So you can disagree and agree with the chat mob. It's all good. That's all I have to say on that game. Let's move on. Bowling Green at Buffalo as it starts to snow hard in Chicago.
Yeah, wow.
Buffalo now -4, -4.5. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Might be a little delayed on that line. Buffalo could still be the best team in the MAC. I know the Toledo's out there, but Buffalo could certainly, arguably, be the most talented. They lost his first matchup against Bowling Green on the road by 8. Matt, Bowling Green's been very much Jekyll and Hyde. Great some games, terrible the others. They just lost by 24 at home to a shorthanded Ball State team. Do you think the Bulls, get it done tonight?
Yeah, I like the Bulls here a lot. They coming off again that first loss to Bowling Green, a little bit of a revenge factor here. In that first matchup, Josh Mballa, Keyshawn Bruton did not play. Bruton's been a key transfer from Coastal, a shooter, a key piece that they need. And Josh Mballa might be the best offensive rebounder in college basketball. And the guy's an absolute animal on the glass. And I think against a shorthanded and thin, weak Bowling Green front line, the Bulls, led by Mballa, will have their way on the glass. I think they get out in transition and run. I like Buffalo and the over. I think there's a points bonanza in this game. I saw it got slammed up to, I think, mid-160s. So it's probably too...
A little buyback. 160 and a half, 161 right now. Probably mostly 161.
All right, Jim, let me check my number to make sure before I endorse that. But I think this is a high-scoring game, and Buffalo has the edge. They're just playing better right now. You look at all the results since that game. The Syracuse effort looks really good. Obviously, that was a terrible bad beat for some backers. We don't need to revisit that. But the Bulls have been really strong in the last 3 games.
Yeah, Mballa and Bruton are like 2 of their 5 best players, so getting them in the fold really helps. They controlled that game at Bowling Green before a 13-1 run late. Swung it over to Bowling Green. I think Buffalo is angry here. They come out and get the revenge at home. I'm not taking it on the number, but I definitely lean Buffalo in the over with you there.
No side lean for me, guys, but the over is someplace I really lean. 160 was my cutoff, though, and 160 and a half, it can maybe get there with a smaller play on the total. Definitely lean for me. I agree with what Sam said in the chat. Both teams should get in the 80s in this game. I think neither one has any interest in stopping the other. So I think that's the play I would lean towards in this matchup. Moving on, one more game on the rundown before we hop into round 1 of Chat Mob questions. We have Duquesne visiting our Bonnies, the St Bonaventure Bonnies.
Yeah, they're my Bonnies.
I was seeing this spread. Yeah, they're your Bonnies. Between anywhere from 8 to 9 in favor of the Bonnies. Jim, Duquesne has kind of been in trouble without Sincere Carey, their point guard of the last 2 years. He transferred away to Kent State, he announced today. Without him, ball handling has been highly suspect. Maseo Austin also gone. Jim, Duquesne dominated the glass against Dayton, but it didn't matter. Do you think the Bonnies smack them today?
I think this game is going to be UGLY.
Yeah,
just gross.
Yes.
You ain't got no alibi.
Right. The Bonnies offense has been stuck in the mud other than Jaron Holmes. Like everybody else is just throwing bricks at the backboard. And honestly, Duquesne's probably going to muck things up without their backcourt, with struggling with injuries. Lamar Norman is also out, so they're just really, really limited. Dan Brett's talked about how concerned he is with their lack of depth, that type of thing. So the number got over in that Dayton game, but I still lean under here. I still probably lean towards the Bonnies just because the talent level is so wide. The gap is wide now that Carey and Austin are gone, but I don't have anything strong on this one. It's going to be gross. I would prefer to watch the Wisconsin-Rutgers rock fight instead.
Yeah, it will be disgusting. I think the number is properly set very low, though. I think 124 is where it opened. Jim, you mentioned the Dayton game. Surprised that I got to 68 possessions. I was expecting low to mid 60s at the high, especially against what is it, Jim?
It's 134 and a half. That's what you said. 124.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm looking at the wrong number then. I think I'm probably going to have to endorse the under here then as an official play. But yeah, I think the Dayton game was a little bit higher possession than I thought, especially against a short-handed Dayton team. Makes me wonder if Danbro wasn't just blowing smoke when he talked about how they want to start grinding it out now. But the Bonnies are phenomenal in transition D. Both of these teams are super well coached. They're not going to let either one get out into transition opportunities. I think you see a very slow, lots of late shot clock, ball movement attempts. So I think the under does play well here. I have no side lane. I know I'm a Bonnie boy. I think the spread's kind of big. I think the Bonnies have trouble getting over the hump.
Here's what I'll say about that possession count, Matt. There was a ton of late fouling. Basically, like the last 2 minutes was a lot of back and forth. A lot of the
Danbro was fouling like 2 minutes in. That's a good thing to know about Danbro. He will play all the way to the final end. He'll start fouling early if he thinks it can help his chances.
Which is scary for
bad for unders.
Yeah.
All right, I'll stay away from it.
I agree. The spread is too high. Oddsmakers clearly realize that Duquesne is limping. Bonnies. They did cover against Fordham, but that was an ugly game. I like the underlean here. Of course, the Rams had their best first half of 2021. game still went under. So one note of caution for Bonnie backers. Michael Weathers is going to absolutely eat Oshuna inside. After seeing what Soriano of Fordham did to him, Weathers is going to kill him. It might not matter, though. He's going to miss a ton of free throws. So I do lean towards the Bonnies, even though the spread is huge. All right. Chat mob questions, round 1. Let's fire them up. I didn't assign a czar. I just trust you both were keeping track.
I knew somebody needed to. I stepped up. Master Yoshi's Handicapper. What a great name. Master Yoshi. Man. Asked us to break down Quinnipiac at Monmouth. Matt, I know you've got to lean in this one. The number just felt pretty high. I watched Quinnipiac play Manhattan. I was really impressed with Taimu Chinnery, the freshman wing. He's kind of dynamic. He got in foul trouble in that, but really popped on film or on tape watching that game. I think Quinnipiac, the number's just a little too high here, Matt.
Yeah, it is. Tyrese Williams, getting him back was huge. It didn't seem to matter much in that series. I thought he'd play better. I think there might still be some injury rust lingering. He's critical. Without him earlier against Drexel, they completely collapsed. I think you get him back in the fold, plus some of the other young pieces that Baker Dunleavy is starting to groom. Seth Pickney is a 7-foot monster inside. I just think there's enough there for Quinnipiac to keep it close-ish with the Hawks. The Hawks are loaded with talent and firepower, but I'm going to probably take Quinny here at, I think, 10, 9, 9.5, somewhere in there.
Oh, Matthew, I don't have the
9.5 is what I see it according to the SPR odds page.
Yeah, 9.5.
All right, I'll lock that in. You know what? That's gonna be my first bet of the day. I need to add something here. I'm just gonna ride the fence otherwise.
I've been kind of having a rule in my head that I shouldn't bet against Monmouth or Siena in the MAC because the other teams appear to be just freaking brutal. So I wish you luck in Quinnipiac. I cannot get on board with you in this one. Back to you, Jim.
9.5 locked in. Boom.
I've been really low on Quinnipiac, and I still lean that way in the number. So maybe that tells you something. Peter Finn and Majid, a.k.a. Kevin, both asked about Old Dominion on the road at Rice. I like Old Dominion here. Rice has kind of overperformed what I expected them to be. So if they control this game, I will have to surrender to them. But this is kind of I just think Old Dominion's better. They've been pretty solid. Jeff Jones knows what he's doing. They've been better offensively than they have in past years. So I think they're okay as a road favorite in this one. I'll take the Monarchs -3. I'll make that a show pick.
Yeah, Jim, lean your way. I think Rice's value has gotten a little bit too high.
I think I agree as well.
Okay.
No play, but just an endorsement.
Good lean.
Staying in the CUSA, J-Man Johnson asked about UTSA, headed to Louisiana Tech. This one feels like a shootout to me. I don't have a side lean here, but UTSA just is frequently involved in up and down track meets, and Louisiana Tech at home usually is willing to do so. Matt, do you have anything here?
No, I mean, they got North Texas to play above 65 possessions, which is a miracle. So, yeah, that just kind of puts into perspective how much UTSA wants to run. I think Javon Jackson and Keaton Wallace, the two super scorers for the Roadrunners, are due for kind of one of those breakout games. So I think the overs could be the play here.
All right. I'm going to jump the line here because this game's early. A couple people asked about Hofstra. This game is tipping off at 1 p.m. Eastern, I believe. Let me check the current line. Hofstra is playing Delaware, who is really, really shorthanded right now. Yep. 5.5 up there. I'm going to lock in Hofstra -5.5. I just think Delaware's kind of in 5.5 is what I'll take it at. I think Delaware's kind of in the hurt locker right now, like I said, with injuries. Hofstra a little angry off the Northeastern game. So, I'm going to go with the Pride as a road favorite here.
Is it really 5.5 now? Yeah, open 3. I think people have sniffed out that intel. It is.
Open 4, Matthew.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's 5.5 too high for me. I can't take 5.5.
Well, I will. So,
and I love Hofstra too. What am I doing?
I think you're right. I think the injuries are way too much in this game. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that lineup though. Perhaps Anderson and Allen are both healthy, but if they're both out, then Hofstra's the side. Zach Frederick and a couple others asked about IUPUI at Northern Kentucky. No side lean here for me. I just think possibly an over, although NKU has played so slow this year. I've been pretty off on their tempo.
Too.
So nothing official for me there.
Nothing here as well. Spread feels high. NKU's not been very good this year, just frankly. Way worse than I expected.
I might lean Uwe Pui. They have two phenomenal shooters in Jalen Minott and Marcus Burke. You got to be able to bust that zone that Horn runs. So I think that could be a good lean for Uwe Pui, but no play for me.
Uwe Pui. Thank you, Matt. We sincerely appreciate that terminology. Definitely multiple people asking about Bellarmine on the road at Florida Gulf Coast and the extra board. Ky, I think you and I agree here, correct?
Yeah, we're Bellarmine boys, Jim. Florida Gulf Coast, I realize they've had some good games this year. I don't think they're, 3-4 points better, 5 points now than this Bellarmine squad. No way. Bellarmine's a good team. I'll take them on the road.
This is classic coaching versus talent. Talent is undoubtedly on the edge of Florida Gulf Coast, but the intricacy and nuance of the stuff that Bellarmine runs, I think, will put FGCU's head in a pretzel. So it's kind of just, you got to pick which side of the coin you're going to go with there.
I'll join you, Ky. Plus 4.5. Well, I'm officially taking it. I don't know if you are. Plus 4.5.
I'm jumping. 4.5. Okay. All right, cool.
Let's do it. Let's go Knights. Liberty at Stetson. This game's going to be disgusting.
Yes, it will be.
Last year, they had a game, I think, played like 54 possessions or something. I need to double check that.
54 possessions, 48-43. Jim, the Hatters got it done. And today, they
most
repeat.
Disgusting game.
They repeat. I'm on the Hatters today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm not taking anything here.
Nothing for me.
All right, and then the last one I'm going to hit before we defer everything to the second chat mob break of the day. Siena on the road at Rider. Can't touch this unless you are 100% sure of the status of Jalen Pickett. If he's in, I think you got to take Siena at the number that it's at. If he's out, I would lean Rider. Just keep a sharp eye on that one.
Yeah, I have a hard time betting Siena without Pickett, man. Rider's terrible, but Pickett is everything for Siena.
Yeah, if it hits 7, no Pickett, I'll probably hop in on Rider.
Yep.
All right, continue through the rundown, guys, before we hit our best bets. And then, of course, another round of chat mob questions. Texas State at Little Rock is where we're going next. Little Rock, I believe the spread's hovering around 5.5. Guys, Texas State has largely been awful, despite the fact they're one of the oldest teams in college basketball, and they have one of the most continuous teams in college basketball. Continuous?
Continuous. I like
continuous. That. Danny Casper, their coach from last year and a long time, he's gone. This program seems lost without him. I still think they're highly overvalued in KenPom. They did beat Louisiana by 12. Louisiana was shorthanded. They're missing a key player in that game. I'm not super impressed with it. Little Rock has been weird. Marquise Knoll, Darrell Walker having some locker room issues. Hopefully he's back. He played a lot of minutes last game, scored some points. Matt, which way are you leaning here? I lean towards Little Rock, but the chemistry issues do kind of scare me.
I have no lean in all this game. I was probably going to lean Little Rock, but I think Texas State they've shown signs of life that since they got Marlon Davis back. I think the transition to new coach after the Danny Casper thing has you've seen that turbulence kind of level off, similar to how you've seen Wichita State start to play well under the new coach. A couple other examples are out there. So I give Texas State the respect, more respect than I would have thought if you asked me 3 weeks ago when looking up to this game. But I think I'm going to stay away here, Jim.
Yeah, I'm stay away. Texas State has turned, I kind of said this with Duquesne, same thing here. They're just mucking everything up. Their games are gross. They want to drag you down into this disgusting half-court battle, which isn't really ideal for Marquise Noel, the point guard for Little Rock. And I just can't figure out Little Rock at all. I don't have anything strong with them because of the chemistry issues. Noel in and out of the lineup. They played sometimes better without him. I don't really like Manyong, the big guy who's gotten a lot of accolades in that conference. Eye test does not really measure up for me on him. So, yeah, stay away from me here, unfortunately.
I'm counting on old Manyong because I think Little Rock will crush the paint. They're going to go to the foul line 100 times. My one fear is Texas State forcing turnovers. It's something they do very well. And Little Rock's been weirdly bad with the ball. Hopefully Noel just gets his head in the game for this contest and gives me a Little Rock cover. So nothing official for the show, guys, but leaning hard for Little Rock, -5, -5.5. I will move on. We will move on collectively. Utep at North Texas. North Texas, -6 pre-show, guys. I want to really like this Utep team. I mean, heck, Matt, they competed with St. Mary's in Arizona. They beat Arizona State, but they also lost to Southern Miss and Rice. They start 5 former transfers, all of whom I would consider down transfers from better programs. Matt, you're a UTEP guy.
Yes, I am. I'm a minor man.
Do they cover 6 against North Texas, one of the best teams in Conference USA?
I definitely lean that way, but I cannot bet Rodney Terry against Grant McCaslin in good faith, so I will stay away here. UTEP, one of those teams, super talented, a lot of new faces, capable of really, really impressive efforts, also capable of some duds. Them losing at Southern Miss, I watched one of those games, was super discouraging. You juxtapose that next to some of their other games, like you mentioned. You just don't know what you're getting with this team, so I'll probably stay away here, Jim.
Yeah, probably stay away from me as well. Utep really takes away the three-point line, which North Texas often profits from the perimeter. Last year, they were one of the best shooting teams in the country. Hasn't fully carried over to this year, but even with a lot of the same shooters back, I think that'll eventually show up. So the Miners taking that away hurts. And then North Texas is so disciplined in their half-court D under McCaslin that, yeah, I think both teams struggle to score. This feels like another rock fight. It's been something I've said repeatedly on this particular day of slate of games, but that's how I see it. North Texas is a very slow team as well, but the next game on the slate is not a rock fight, so we'll tease that at least.
Yeah, man. North Texas has a scoring problem, and their loss against UTSA is concerning. Like, this team is not as consistent as I was hoping preseason.
Yeah.
I like to think they step it up at home. However, UTEP is incredibly talented, so I can't choose a side in this game.
Yeah. Last thing on North Texas, last year was kind of a slow burn. They started slow, and it was kind of frustrating. It's like, isn't this a Grant McCaslin team? And then they just shredded late into like January and February. So I'm kind of waiting to see that run happen again this year.
All right, last game before we hit our best bets and more chat mob questions is Purdue Fort Wayne at Milwaukee. You know we're going to kick it to Jim first because he's from Wisconsin. Guys, is Fort Wayne kind of good? Is Milwaukee kind of good? Fort Wayne swept Illinois, Chicago, albeit they were a little bit hurt. Probably shouldn't have beaten Northern Kentucky at least once. They nearly beat Cleveland State. They are 0-2 on the road. That's worrisome. Jim, your Milwaukee Panthers currently up to 205th in KenPom after starting 284. They're 1-1 on the horizon. They've lost 2 games this year by a combined 4 points, one of which was against K-State. Are you back in the Panthers or the Dons?
I lean towards the Mastodons here on the road, but I'm not sold on either team quite yet. Fort Wayne beat up on a totally injured UIC team, and then Milwaukee shot the lights out against IUPUI in both games. So I'm a little hesitant to trust both. Really fun matchup, though, because the best player on the court for both teams is their point guard. They can get things going in transition, set up each other. Tajon Lucas on the Panther side, Jared Godfrey on the Fort Wayne side. So I think this one's more of a shootout compared to the rock fights of earlier in the outline. Matthew, do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I've been on the Mastodons a lot. I was fortunate, though, to be on them in both games against the Flames. As Ky mentioned, the Flames were a lot hurt. They had, I think, 3.5 starters out and still couldn't really escape and put the Flames away in the first leg. They won in overtime. The second leg was a complete runaway. There's points for days in this game. Jared Godfrey is an emerging star for the Mastodons, but I don't know if they guard well enough to keep Milwaukee within arm's reach. I just don't know. It's a very unpredictable type of game. Volatile in-game swings. I think if you want to live bet something, this is probably the game to do it.
That's a good call.
I'm leaning towards the Dons here. Milwaukee, this is the key thing for me. Milwaukee's not going to take advantage of Fort Wayne's turnover struggles. That's been their number one bugaboo, and Milwaukee just doesn't force them. They don't pressure teams. I think Fort Wayne's going to get some shots off. They're going to stop Milwaukee's rim attack. So, yeah, let's lean Dons at +4. All right, best bets. Here we go. Jimmy, lead us off, baby. What we got today? 2 in a row for Jim. Come on.
Oh, let's hope so. The chat mob has mentioned this game a couple times. Charlotte hosting UAB. I'm all over Charlotte here. +1.5. I don't. It's probably not what it is anymore. +1 pick. I mean, it's kind of multiple prices, different places. Either way. The matchup is great. Their pack line is going to really frustrate UAB's lack of shooting. And then no Quan Jackson. I forget who mentioned it in the chat. I apologize. Someone did, but I agree. Absolutely huge to be missing him. He's leading the entire country in steal rate. UAB's whole defense is predicated on pressure and making you uncomfortable. So without him, that goes down a little bit. And Charlotte has 2 point guards, so they can handle that pressure and take care of the ball. 49ers, I'll take it at +1 is what I'll lock in at.
I'm coming with you. +1 Charlotte. Here we go.
Yes.
I should do it. I'm just a little bit shook after making a Wagner bet based on the Jackson injury. So I'm only betting this because of the Quan Jackson injury. So I don't want to make an official play, but I am on it behind the scenes. That's just want to caveat that. My best bet, the University of South Alabama, the team notorious for blowing second half leads, did that twice last weekend. Against Coastal Carolina. They got up, I think, 19-4 to start the game and completely collapsed. This team has no depth. They have 7-8 players right now. One of their key guys, David Walker, is out. But their top 7 is really good. And I think in the first leg of these back-to-backs, you're more likely to get a really, really strong effort. And if you get an A to A- type performance from South Alabama, I think they're 6-7 points better than this App State team who just pulled 2 rabbits out of their hat last weekend to pull off 2 of their own late game surges. I'm going with the Jaguars here.
Nothing for me, Matt, but I support your decision.
Riding. Yeah, fence riding your Jaguars. Take care.
All right, official number is, let's just lock that in. It's 3.
I'm not sure.
2.5 across the board, Matthew.
Minus 2.5 for Matthew.
Done.
All right,
love it.
Kai's turn. Then we'll hit some questions real quick. Or 9:30. I'm going to the island, guys. Hawaii -1. The Rainbows. I love the island. I love Hawaii. I've never been there. I would like to visit. Tough travel.
1.5 still okay?
1.5's fine. Tough travel. Lots of home. I'm not convinced Bakersfield is actually the better team. They've gotten very high in KenPom. I think part of that is obviously because of their blowout of a team that's escaping me currently. They've certainly had some nice efforts, but they've also had a couple stinkers out there. Bakersfield is the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the country this year. That is concerning about against Hawaii, excuse me. However, I think the home court matters a lot. I think the fact that Bakersfield hacks limbs like it's their job is important. Hawaii's going to get to the free throw line a lot. I also like the fact that Bakersfield is not good at stopping transition. 286 in the country in field goal attempt percentage allowed in transition. Hawaii lives in the open floor. Hawaii -1.5 is my best bet.
Yep, I'm with you, Ky. -1.5. Let's do it with Hawaii. The game you're thinking of is Bakersfield won by 28 at Pepperdine, and that just completely juiced the Roadrunners rating. They hopped up from 201st to 159th after that game by itself.
Yep, I think it's a little bit fraudulent. I think it's a throwout game. So, Jim, chat mob questions. Let's hit them quick.
Wait. I'm in on Hawaii too. I just want to make sure that's clear. 1.5.
Okay, good. Mitch, and a couple others. This is another early game. Oral Roberts at Denver. I am hopping on Oral Roberts here. I'm not going to take it official on the show, but I would lean that way. The Oral Roberts, Denver potentially missing their big man, Robert Jones. I think he's out possibly long term. Oral Roberts has a good enough offense to blow teams out on the road. So as long as they care about this one, they should be in good shape. And they did lose the first leg to North Dakota last time. So hopefully they don't take an underdog lightly.
Yep. Denver sucks. Lean Bobby's mouth.
Denver is tanking. Denver is like 100% tanking. Terrible.
To try to get rid of Rodney Billups. That makes sense.
I guess. It's probably smart. I think that's actually a good idea.
A couple people asked about Merrimack headed to Mount St. Mary's. The Mount absolutely thrashed them yesterday. Matt, do you have any lean here?
Yeah, I took Merrimack begrudgingly. I should have upped my strike to 4. I think I'm now getting 4. I'll go back to that well. I think Joe Gallo's too good of a coach. He'll make the adjustments. We've seen these NEC games swing pretty starkly back to back, so I'll go with the Warriors here.
Yeah, a little caution. Merrimack's certainly not as good as they were last year, but Mount St. Mary's losing Jalen Gibbs, they come back down to earth a little bit, I think, today.
Yeah, they were on fire from 3 yesterday. I don't think that sustains.
Zach Frederick and I think a couple others asked about Louisiana, the Cajuns heading on the road to UT Arlington. I mentioned this very early in the chat mob. Arlington potentially missing their backcourt of Alame and David Azor, 2 very important players.
Huge.
We could not find any status on them anywhere on the internet. We tried, just wasn't there. So you have to check on that one. I still lean towards the Cajuns, even if they do play, though.
Yeah, I can't take Arlington without knowing those 2 guys' status.
Yeah, if you guys find out any inside intel, hop on the Cajuns. I lean the Cajuns like Jim, even without those guys, or even if they do play.
Yep. Lipscomb hosting North Florida. I lean towards Lipscomb here. I still think they're undervalued in the market after the terrible early start to the season without KJ Johnson, but not quite strong enough to make it a play. Anything for either of you?
Nah, nothing here.
North Dakota State. North Dakota was mentioned. Big battle in state there. Deshaun Allen-Ikens just left North Dakota. Their second best player who's been hurt. I'd lean towards the Bison, but it's a rivalry, so tough to take the favorite in that one.
Lean towards them as well. Nothing strong, Jim.
Okay. Oh man, the games are coming in hot and heavy. We're not going to be able to get.
We got to hit Bryant. It's been asked about quite a bit.
Okay, we'll hit that one and then sign off. Tweet at us at 3MW_CBB. We'll give more insight that way. So last one of the show, Bryant headed on the road to on the road again at St. Francis, Pennsylvania. Lost outright yesterday. Ky, where do we lean today?
Bryant, 100%. This game closed at 8.5, 9 yesterday. Absolutely ridiculous. That line got way too high. It's 4.5 right now. That's too much of a buyback. There's no home court here. Bryant is the better team. I know they had kind of a stinker. I think they dominate today, so Bryant is my side.
Yeah, worried about the zone that the Red Flash can throw at Bryant. It kind of takes away their drive and kick, free-flowing rec ball style. But I'm just going with Bryant off a loss, no question. I'm taking the Bulldogs.
Yep, they couldn't make any shots yesterday. I think more threes go in for the Bulldogs.
Still scored 82 points, so they're ridiculous. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Went a little bit long. We'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Central. SBRpicks.com/NCAA is where you should go for all your college basketball content. Hey, hit that like button before you go. Let's get some Friday likes around here in the show. I love that.
Smash the like.
SBR Sports Picks is the YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We will see you on Monday. Be good. Have a great weekend.